Hello and welcome to the Friday-o. Today's Friday-o is a story of something that happened to me. It's a true story, in keeping with the theme of stories that the new website has. So here's an actual story. I played a board game with some friends of mine called The Settlers of Catan. If you've ever played it, then cool, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, don't worry, this won't make any more sense to the people who have played it than it will to the people who haven't. So it really doesn't make a difference. Just know that the following makes no sense whatsoever, and that is part of what makes it a funny story. So here's a review of the actual game. If you want to see that, it might make a little bit more sense. At least you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I did not make this review, but it is good. I changed the rules. That is something that I do. I don't mean to say that I'm good at it, or that I'm any better at making up rules for a game than the people who actually made the game. Just that I do, that I do that. So first, instead of having the normal shape map, we had an elongated map. So the shape of the map was completely not normal. And second, the rest of the island was not normal in any way either. So, like, this island was really not cool at all. So on a scale of islands, as far as islands go, on a scale of bad down here to worse up here, it's like the island of misfit toys. It's like, aw. And then like the island from that book, The Key, with the kid and the blind guy. The island of, Elba. And Alcatraz is like here. And it's like, ooh, don't want to be stuck there for the rest of my life. And then Lost, the island of Lost is like right here. And then this place is like way out there. This place is terrible. Like, the worst island possible, imaginable, of all time. But the settlers don't know that yet. They don't know how terrible this island is. So, of course, they decide to settle the island. And unbeknownst to the settlers is in the center of the map, there's a desert space with the robber piece on it, but the robber in this game is actually a smoke monster. Kind of like the smoke monster from Lost, but instead of being, no spoilers, never mind, not gonna say that. Anyway, it moves one space in a direction determined by a die roll. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that determines which direction it goes, and it moves one space. And it does that every turn. Also on the island is a car from the Game of Life, which moves along a road, if it's been built. Starts off on the northern desert of the island, and which is more like a beach than a desert, but it moves along a road once you build it to it, and it has to move at the end of every player's turn one space along the road if there's a road connected to it. It can move in any direction along the road, but it has to move from one piece of road to the next. If the robber moves onto a hex space that is connected to the road that the car from the Game of Life is on, then the car can't move at all. Also on the island is the matter, which is very important, of the pirate ship piece from the Seafaring expansion pack to the Settlers of Catan, which is an actual piece that is very much like the robber, aka Smoke Monster, but in this ridiculously hellish island, to the settlers, it is a ghost ship. In actuality, it is a Klingon vessel from Star Trek universe that apparently has really crappy terraforming capabilities from the game of Spore. Why? Yes. That piece moves along the torrential rains. Oh, did I mention that? Yeah, there's torrential downpours that happen every single round. That you roll 2 dice, and the resource number that you get, that you're supposed to be getting resources on from that number, instead, those tiles are flooded for the next round of turns. And the pirate ship, aka Klingons, move to the closest piece with the flooding on it, and that is how they use their terraforming. And you randomly swap out the resource tile that is there with a different one because they terraformed it, and the settlers are actually like, if you don't like the resource that it randomly was selected by the Klingons, then you can pay 5 resource cards of a single type to randomly change it again as long as the Klingons are still there. Why? Because terraforming. Also on the island, there's Pokemon. Only the original 150 though, because anything else would be just ridiculous. Why? Yes. So all in all, end goal of the game is to avoid the smoke monster, avoid the Klingons, and avoid the torrential rains, maneuver your pieces and resources around to cooperatively work together, because by yourself would be just insanity. So you're cooperatively trying together to get enough victory points on one player and enough roads with another player to build 2 from one place to the other so that the car can get to the centerpiece, and then you all work together and avoid stuff and trade resources around, and end goal, get the life car to the center with enough victory points, and the player who has the victory points has to move the car to the desert. They have the key. They get out of the car, they turn on the helicopter, and the players who are all in the game of life car, they get out of the car, get on the helicopter, the victory points turn on the helicopter, because that just makes the most sense of anything. And you turn on the helicopter, and you get off the island, and you escape, and you're like, yay! And thus we created the settlers of the Lost Island of Spore Life Star Trek Catan, blue version. I hope that you get a chance to try this game. It's awesome. Seriously, legit awesome. But the funny story that I was trying to tell this whole time, that I told you all the rules and everything for the game, all of this was to tell you that we spent literally 2 hours coming up with the rules for this game, played 2 rounds, and then quit to play something else. That was why the story was funny. That's the whole story. So I probably could have left out all the rules, and you would have been perfectly fine with that story. But it would have been so much shorter, and it wouldn't have been nearly as much fun, and you wouldn't know all about the great game that I invented, or helped invent, spawned. The settlers of the Lost Island of Spore Life Star Trek Catan, blue version. Why? Yeah. Bye, see you next week.